Welcome back to this episode of the Deep Penetration Podcast. My name is Danny, and I am a self-esteem and love coach that works with the LGBTQIA plus community, specifically gay and bisexual men who are trying to navigate love, right? So all things that have to do with self-confidence, self-esteem, really coming to understand yourself, accept your identity, and cultivate happy, healthy, and sustainable, long-lasting relationships. If this is your first time listening in or watching, welcome. And if you've been here before, then welcome back. Today, we are talking about how to be more secure in your relationship. And look, when it comes to dating in the queer community, if there's one thing that I have come to find over my years as a coach is there is a lot of insecurities at play in the dating world. And the funny thing is that a lot of it will come, actually it's not funny. The unfortunate thing is that a lot of it comes off as people being overly confident, right? But that's a defense mechanism. When you really strip away that arrogance and that overconfidence and that aggressive nature, there's a lot of insecurities that are underlying there, right? And what it actually results in is people being very anxious in relationships or being avoidant in relationships because you don't know how to navigate your emotions. You don't know how to be vulnerable. You don't know how to open up to somebody because you've experienced for years, for a lot of you, rejection and not being seen or understood or validated or being discriminated against and marginalized. And, the reality of the situation is that we are a minority group, and there is a lot of challenges that comes with that. And there's even discrimination within our own community. And it's something that, it breaks my heart every time that I see it, but we can either choose to do absolutely nothing about it or try to fix it, shed light on it, have conversations about it, and talk about it. And that is what I am here to do. That is why I work with men one-on-one to unpack these things. Eventually, what I would love to start to do is to have men's retreats and, focus on men's makeovers and do all the things that help you to build your self-esteem and your self-confidence. But all of that to say, today's conversation is about security, being secure within your relationship. And look, I hear the word attachment thrown around in my one-on-one coaching sessions all the time. And although I do appreciate when a client puts in a concerted effort to learn about themselves and their relationship dynamics, often the terms are not used correctly. So what are the terms? The terms that I think most people hear are anxious, avoidant, and secure. And then obviously there are many different combinations of these, right? So those are the three primary attachment styles. However, again, like I said, there are many variations and combinations that can be used. So for example, you can be an anxious avoidant, you can be a secure anxious, you can be a fearful avoidant, you can be an anxious dismissive. And I think a lot of people forget that there are many different combinations. And I actually advise against trying to figure that out for yourself. There are many tests that you can take online to try to figure out what your attachment style is and all of that stuff. And I think it's a good idea to have a general understanding of what your attachment style is. But if you really try to sit there and dissect yourself, if you're already in a very insecure place, it's not going to help you. Attachment styles aren't cut and dry. They vary depending on the individual. So that begs the question, what does it truly mean to be secure? And according to John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, who are considered the founders of attachment theory, secure attachment is the most desirable attachment style. So if you are secure, that means you are comfortable with intimacy and having a strong sense of self-worth and are able to form a trusting relationship with people and can balance personal needs and the needs of your partner. You're comfortable with conflict resolution and you have a strong strong sense of independence. Now, if you wouldn't classify yourself as secure, here are 5 ways that you can start to become more secure, right? So, number 1, practicing vulnerability. Vulnerability is the cornerstone of any healthy and secure relationship. It involves being open and honest with your partner about your thoughts, your feelings, and needs, even when it feels uncomfortable or risky. It's possible you may be hesitant to be vulnerable in your relationship because you fear rejection or judgment. And being somebody who is part of the queer community, this is intrinsically a part of what a lot of people deal with and face, that fear of being rejected or being judged. But keep in mind, the more you practice vulnerability, the more you will realize that it is a key ingredient in building trust and intimacy. Vulnerability is what I like to call the secret pandemic in the queer community. Ooh, I know, trigger word, pandemic. Sorry, but it's true. It's something that I call the secret pandemic within the queer community, and I have worked with countless men that struggled to open up and be vulnerable on dates with friends and family and romantic partners. And it comes as no surprise, considering a majority of us are forced to hide our authentic selves for years. And just because you are outgoing, sociable, or the life of the party, it does not mean that you are vulnerable. Often I find it to be quite the opposite, to be honest. Individuals that are very extroverted use it as a defense mechanism to protect their inner pain. So here is an exercise that I usually offer my clients when it comes to practicing vulnerability. Share your thoughts and your feelings with your partner in small ways. So, for example, you might express your gratitude for something that they did, or share a personal story from your childhood. And as you become more comfortable with it, you can slowly increase the depth and the intensity of the information that you are sharing. But remember, vulnerability is a two-way street. So be sure to listen and respond to your partner's vulnerabilities as well. That's known as validating, right? Validation, which is what you are probably seeking yourself. The second thing here is building communication skills, and communication skills is another crucial aspect of building a secure relationship. It involves not only expressing yourself, but also actively listening to your partner and seeking to understand their perspective. Communication skills can be learned and practiced, and they can help you to navigate conflict. They can help you to build intimacy, and they can strengthen your emotional bond, but you have to try. You have to put in the effort. And if this is something that you feel you struggle with, then I would highly recommend a course that I created that helps with communication skills called Unlocking Your Voice. And it will help you to acquire the fundamental knowledge and skills of communication. So here's an example. Have you ever seen a child before they can speak get frustrated, right? They end up screaming and they end up yelling because they can't articulate their needs. The same actually rings true for you as an adult. Having subpar communication skills will result in a lot of frustration and anger because the people around you will have difficulty understanding you. So to build your communication skills, it's important to start by practicing active listening. And this means giving your partner your full attention and seeking to understand their point of view without any kind of defensiveness or judgment. You can also work on things like I statements instead of you statements, right? So when you're expressing your thoughts and your feelings, make sure that you're expressing them from the standpoint of yourself. And this can help you to avoid blame and defensiveness and focus on your own personal experience. The third thing here is setting boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining your sense of self and for creating healthy dynamics in your relationships. Boundaries involve setting limits around what you are willing or unwilling to accept in your relationship and communicating those limits clearly to your partner. So when you set boundaries, you create a sense of safety and predictability in your relationship, which can help to build trust and security. So a lot of people, when I talk about boundaries, will ask me, well, how the hell do I even set a boundary, right? It is something that we struggle with in the queer community because again, that desire and that need to be accepted and to be part of the group and to be seen and to be desired and to be wanted results in us having very weak boundaries. So to set boundaries, start by identifying what is the most important to you in your relationship. And this might include things like respecting your time or prioritizing your needs, or avoiding certain harmful behaviors like lying or cheating. And once you have identified those boundaries, right, communicating them very clearly to your partner and be prepared to enforce them if necessary. Remember, boundaries are not about controlling your partner, which is a common misconception. Um, it's not about creating conflict within your relationship, but more so it's about maintaining your own sense of self worth, and prioritizing your well-being within the relationship, which also in turn focuses on your partner's well-being as well. The fourth thing here is prioritize self-care. I say this all the time in my one-on-one coaching sessions. I talk about it in multiple episodes on the podcast, and self-care is so important. And when you prioritize your own needs and well-being, you are better able to show up as your best self in your relationship. Now, let me be clear. When I say prioritizing yourself, I also want you to keep in mind that you are in a relationship with somebody else, which means it's a compromise, it's a partnership, it's a team effort. So if you are only focusing on your needs, that is not balanced. So making sure that you are focusing on balance when it comes to your own personal needs, right? Self-care, there's a variety of different types of self-care, right? So there's exercise, there's meditation, there's spending time with friends, there's pursuing hobbies. But prioritizing self-care starts by identifying the activities that make you feel the most nourished and energized, the most fulfilling for you, right? So make a commitment to engage in these activities regularly, even if it means saying no to other commitments, or setting boundaries with your partner. Remember, self-care is not selfish, but rather it's an essential part of maintaining your own emotional and physical health. Now, let me clarify something because I know that I said prioritizing it over previous commitments. What I mean by that is if you are just starting to prioritize yourself in the relationship, that means that there are certain patterns or routines that you guys have already established within the relationship. So those are commitments. And if you find that they are not benefiting you, serving you, or helping the relationship in any way, then it's important that you start to change those patterns. I don't mean like, if your partner had planned a 6 month or family reunion a year ago and it's coming up and you're like, actually, I'm prioritizing myself now. I'm not going to go. No, that's not what I am talking about. Commitments are very important in relationships because it's what maintains and sustains trust and allows your partner to feel like they can rely on you and all of those things. What I am talking about is changing old patterns and routines that no longer serve you. And the fifth thing here is seek support, right? Seeking support is a key way to build security and resilience in your relationship. And this might involve working with a therapist or working with a support group or a coach that can help you to manage and guide you through this period of transition into becoming more secure within your relationship. Trying to do it on your own, I think, is incredibly commendable. but it can also have its downside too, right? It can be very difficult. And a lot of the times people feel lost in the process, which ends up contributing to those anxieties and that fear and those insecurities. So when you have a strong support system, you are better able to navigate the ups and the downs of your relationship and not dump on your partner. When you solely depend on your partner for emotional and mental support, you straddle the line of codependency and toxicity, which you want to avoid at all costs. So, if you are trying to become more secure in your relationship, if you're trying to become more secure within yourself, there is no better time to start than now. I think it's also very important to have a supportive partner throughout this process. Is it possible that they may not be super comfortable with the changes that are coming down the pipeline? Maybe. Maybe they got comfortable with how things have been, even if they too are not fully happy or satisfied in the relationship. So, you taking the reins and really kind of shifting the dynamic here can actually turn out to be something incredibly beneficial for the both of you. And maybe it's because your partner already has a secure attachment style. So they're really good at doing these things and you're not. And because you're not, and you're aware of the fact that you're with somebody that is good navigating and managing these things, there is a fear within you that, you're not good enough or that this person is going to find somebody healthier or better. And that narrative that you have running in your mind and in your head is actually what's holding you back. They chose you for a reason. They're in a relationship with you for a reason. So if that's a fear of yours, level up, invest the time, work on yourself, do the shadow work, do what you need to do so that you feel that you bring value to the relationship if that is something that you are struggling with. But at the end of the day, we all have a little bit of anxiety. We all have a little bit of avoidance. We all have these things that are a part of our personalities and our behaviors. It's totally dependent on which one you feed and which one you come to believe you are. It's a matter of mindset. I hope you guys found that helpful. I hope you guys found this episode to be inspirational, motivational, anything, right? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you are struggling with being secure within your relationship and the things that you have come to find are helpful for you or are not helpful for you. I love to have these open conversations and discussions. It's what I do day to day. But yeah, I hope you guys found this helpful and I will see you in the next episode.